globalist reach is certainly far and wide. They have permeated nearly all societies and cultures in some way or form. Their end goal is total control of the world by any means, whether through hard or soft power. War is certainly a tool they are more than willing to use in order to achieve their objectives. However, ultimately the global elites want peace, on the condition that the world bows at their feet. Wars are a means to an end, but not the end itself.
It is my divine power that I'm a generous god. I can make you rich beyond all measure. Your Athenian rivals will kneel at your feet. If you will but kneel at mine.
This notion of the elites creating forever wars because they make money hand over fist from the weapons manufacturers is naive. The global cabal create money from nothing. They don't care about making money. They literally have all the money they want and can bring it into existence with the push of a button. They are above the economic strata. They certainly utilize finance to facilitate their agenda, which again is about total submission from every person on earth. They are not chasing money-making opportunities. It is simply not necessary. Money is a byproduct of this deeper web of intrigue and is used as a carrot to motivate their willful servants who produce the weapons needed to beat their opponents into submission. The military complex doesn't hold the levers of power. It is itself one of many levers, but not the hand that grips and manipulates them. Not only do we see hot wars on the battlefield, but we are also subjected to psychological warfare in a struggle for our minds.
But the world only believes what the media tells them to believe, and I tell the media what to believe. It's really quite simple.
Social engineering is as important, if not more so, than conventional war. The globalist cabal work tirelessly in their efforts to shape public perception in order to facilitate the journey towards their objective. Psychological operations, or PSYOPs, are in constant use, spreading misinformation through the media, the education system, and the central government, all of which are used as vessels, but are not themselves centers of power. Over the last 130 years, there has been a coordinated and relentless effort by the ruling elite of the Anglo-American establishment to take control of the entire world and create a one-world government where every human is subordinated. Every major war of the 20th century was a result of this concerted plan, as the Atlanticists, that is, the USA, UK, and Israel, have sought to crush and eliminate their opposition. This was largely achieved after World War II, when the world was split between two hegemonic powers, and even more so in 1991, with the collapse of the Soviet Empire, leaving their various vassals, client regimes, and satellite states unable to resist Atlanticist influence and power. The Atlanticist power bloc, already in control of half of the world, then proceeded to absorb the other half, by hook or by crook, with silver or lead.
Plata o plomo.
All but a handful of countries have remained truly independent. Russia, China, Iran, Syria, North Korea, Belarus, Venezuela, and a few others. Over the last 3 decades, the Atlanticists have been ruthlessly trying to eliminate the last remaining states that have not yet fallen in line, leaving millions of dead in their wake of destruction.
And destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years.
There are currently 2 theaters of war taking place, Ukraine and Palestine. In both cases, the defending side is under assault by the same Zionist globalist power. Russia is fighting as a conventional state actor, but in the Middle East, we see various resistance groups coordinating together, known collectively as the Axis of Resistance, that is, Hamas, Hezbollah, Ansar Allah, the Iraqi resistance, and of course, Iran. This axis of resistance is the result of the military occupation of Palestine and the systematic destruction of neighboring countries, causing destabilization in the region since the 1930s. There is this notion that there is no true resistance, And all these groups and militias are in fact controlled opposition. These wars and conflicts are nothing but theater, all part of some great and elaborate psyop. They'll have you believe that everything is a psyop. Well, I can tell you that this concept itself is in fact a psyop, for the purpose of not only creating confusion and division, but more importantly, to demoralize and stunt any further support for the resistance, as no one would be brave enough, let alone capable, of starting an actual resistance movement, if an individual were to believe that this burden lies on their shoulders, and theirs alone. It is sending a message to discourage dissent, telling people it is absolutely futile and impossible, because the empire is so strong that resistance would be immediately crushed. Therefore, don't even try. Just accept your overlords and stay plugged into the matrix. Obey. Unfortunately, many parrot this idea and have convinced others to fall for this defeatist lie. It is pessimistic, cynical, and ultimately the stance of a nihilist who has resigned himself to inaction and wishes to drag others down with him so that he may share his negativity and justify his lazy approach to something that clearly bothers him, but not enough to take any meaningful action. Content to sit back in his echo chamber as he watches, criticizes, and ridicules genuine dissidents who are making effective strides by informing others of the truth. Agents of the deep state cabal have used the spread of misinformation to shape public perception for over 100 years. However, social media has made things much more complicated. Previously, it was a simple case of buying off newspapers, controlling the editorial practices, and providing compliant journalists with pre-written scripts.
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these things simply aren't true without checking facts first.
However, now it requires entire bot farms, agent provocateurs, and thousands of fake social media accounts. But it's a constant effort because many have awakened to this and understand not to trust a post without verification, which is a much easier task with information online readily available if one knows where to look. Gone are the days of control of information being monopolized by the powerful. Iran is supposedly colluding in secret with Israel and the US. This conspiracy has been floating around social media with very flimsy evidence to support such a claim. Many have used the drone and missile attack back in April as evidence because no real damage was dealt to the Zionist occupation, and Tehran informed Washington prior to the attack as if it were some theatrical display of fireworks to fool everyone into thinking they are genuine enemies. Clearly, they don't understand diplomacy, which does take place between belligerents who wish to avoid an all-out war. This begs a very simple question. Why on earth would the US and Israel hide their relationship with Iran? For what purpose would it serve to conceal their supposed friendship? Surely if Iran was on the side of Israel, they would help them crush the remaining resistance groups such as Hamas and Hezbollah, which rely on Iran for support. Some even go a step further and claim that all these groups are in fact fake. I even heard that Hamas are not Palestinian at all, and are in fact Israeli actors, and all the fighting is staged in some urban mock-up of Gaza. Absolutely absurd. The most outlandish theory has to be the deception that Putin is secretly colluding with the West and putting on a show in Ukraine, as if he could fool his entire country into this devastating war to fulfill a globalist agenda, the same globalists that hate Russia and wish to see it destroyed. The Iranian conspiracy is most prominent in Arab and Sunni circles, which stems from their old rivalry with Persians, whom are mostly Shia. Perhaps there's some distrust, but mostly envy, as no Arab nations are taking any meaningful action against the Zionist occupation. If these theories are to be taken seriously, then who's fighting on the ground? And why go to such lengths to cover up such an elaborate act of trickery? Surely Putin could simply hand Russia over to his fictional enemies, or balkanize it into smaller republics, allowing for the Western powers to pick them off one by one. All that being said, this isn't to say that there is no controlled opposition. Of course there is. Groups such as Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and various other invented enemies we see in places like Pakistan, Iran, and Syria do operate on behalf of American-Israeli interests by LARPing as an enemy of the Western powers, yet only seem to cause instability in the regions where they are present. Notice how they always attack the enemies of Israel, and never Israel. In conclusion, we can see that Iran has been under assault by the West for almost half a century, since the 1979 revolution that overthrew the American client regime under the Shah. Prior to this, the West was on good terms with Iran. Is this a coincidence? If America and Israel truly had every state on the planet, or even just in the Middle East, under their control, surely they would have implemented and put in place their much anticipated Greater Israel, which is their ultimate objective for the region. So what's stopping them? That's right, the resistance that they supposedly control. Thanks for watching. I'm sure some of you may disagree. Leave your comments below, and don't forget to like and share, and consider donating. Until next time.